Okay, so Sam, Spaceman, welcome to the Tear Your Fucking Face Off podcast. You are the kind of creator behind Bleakness of Eris, recently joined our label. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how Bleakness of Eris came about.
Well, thank you for having me, Ben. It's
You're welcome.
really a pleasure. Well, Bleakness of Eris is was created in 2014, but back then it was not named Bleakness of Eris. It was named Corrosion,
Mm-hmm.
and we released let's see, two demos, one full album, and then an EP. And then when the pandemic hit, we took a little hiatus or a little break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then this year we rebranded it into Bleakness of Eris. So like it's been back and forth a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool rebrand. I do love the kind of the imagery and the stuff that you put together. And the meaning behind the bleakness of Eris. Is there anything, or is it just something that sounded pretty like cool at the time?
Well, the thing is, um, well, Corrosion, there were like, I'm not even kidding when I say this. Like when we changed into Bleakness of Eris, the reason why was because there were like five to six different bands in like Spotify's named Corrosion.
Mhm.
So we do not want to confuse the listeners to like play us because we want to be as original as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
So we had to think of like like an amazing name that can make us stand out. So like bleakness, okay, that's already taken. Eris, like five different black metal bands are named
Oh,
after that.
right. Okay. Okay. Oh.
So it was like, okay, it's either Eden of Eos, which I don't think doesn't really fit,
Hmm.
or Bleakness of Eris. We chose the latter.
Yeah. Good choice.
Yeah, Eris is like the goddess of discord and strife, but
Ah,
our
right.
music really does not really say anything mythical about her. But the most important thing is that our music has to be like very dark and such.
Yes. No, I would definitely say that it's dark.
Yeah,
the
yeah. Very
the
brutal too.
yeah, very brutal. Absolutely love it. I mean, I think you came my way through the Fiver, and I think I did the Sixth Ranger first. We can come and talk about that, and then off the back of my video, it was then the EP, which its name is it's I Am Origin. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
Imogen.
yeah, then I covered then I covered that, and then that's when I was sold on the first play, but but when I heard the EP, that has absolutely done the deal. I had to have you on the label. You were that kind of level of brutal that I was just like, yes, I want this. I must have this. You're coming on board. You would have been on board whether you liked it or not, probably. But
Yeah, absolutely.
but the tale of the EP is brutal. You can probably describe it far better than I will. So let's talk about that tale because that is very much strife in all of its brutality. Go ahead.
The Six Ranger or I Am Origin.
I Am Origin. We can come on to the Sixth Ranger straight after that if you like.
Absolutely. Well, I Am Origin is the concept behind I Am Origin is actually much older than you think
Mm.
because it kind of goes back to when we did our first album back in 2019, which honestly, I'm not as happy as I thought I would be with that album.
That
Maybe
happens to us
next,
all.
maybe next time when I, you know, do another meeting with you and I probably show my face, I'll probably show that album because I have it right here. But anyway, the concept behind I'm Origin was like much older, and it was original about this girl being, instead of a time loop, she was originally trapped inside of chains inside of a spaceship.
Uh,
And like, as you develop, you kind of go back and have to think like maybe these ideas weren't as aged as well as you think it was. So I kind of had to retcon that. So so like instead of like the chains, now it's like um yeah, like in like a timeless time loop. And what else is there to say? It's
well,
like,
there's a lot happening to her, isn't there?
yeah, she gets, brutally beaten, slaughtered by this masked man, who's actually not a masked man. He's technically this, enigma of goddess being. And then she gets saved by Z, which of course I will talk about more in when we talk more about Six Ranger.
Mhm.
But Z, of course, is like, you can't die here yet. You have work to do. So then the nameless girl is like, how much more do I have to like do this? And then the tracks just kicks in.
Definitely.
Yeah. And by the end of that concept, you know, the nameless girl is like, okay, can I get my wish come true now? I just want to die in peace. And Z's like, okay, you can die in peace. There we go. No problem. But what else is there to say? It's like the concept is like it's like a battle between life and death
Mm.
because
Because she's resurrected to basically come through she after her death that she's
yeah,
granted, she's resurrected to come back to go through it all again. Is that not the case?
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And
So
is it?
so it's sorry, it's a
it
matter of survivability, if that makes sense.
mm, yes, it's almost a bit like we go through our life, with all the tortures and the sufferings, but we've got an obligation to carry on and keep going, and we recycle that, and then that's just the path of human existence, and it's recycled. So I don't know, maybe I'm thinking into it too much, but it seems to have quite a lot of sort of metaphorical translation.
Yeah,
Into life. I didn't know if that was deliberate from the outset, but you can interpret it that way.
yeah, yeah.
And then we move on after that to the Sixth Ranger, which is more about the story of this character Z. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. Yeah, because I remember when you did your review on that track, you said that you wanted a little bit more of an origin story behind the track.
Mhm.
Well, at that time, I don't think I was ready to like tell you because I don't know how to say this, but sometimes things can get, I don't want to say too personal, but like
Right.
you have ideas that you have in your head and you're not too sure if you want to share it, but
Yeah,
you
sure.
know,
Mhm.
I kind of want to share it now because the track is obviously very important as a part of our discography. So the Sixth Ranger, when we did the track, when the pandemic was, at its peak, and it was a crazy time where everybody was fighting with toilet papers, which one
Yeah.
was getting which,
You
and
when you look back on it, it's hilarious, isn't it? This is
I know, right?
human behavior. There's this like absolute disease going across the globe, and what are we doing? Fighting in aisles over bog roll.
I know, right?
Sorry, carry on. It's just
Yeah,
I'd forgotten about these aspects of the pandemic. We're very quick to forget about all this kind of stuff, and when the way you just brought it up, then I just thought, yeah, because is that really what we did? Sorry, continue.
yeah. No, 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 it's okay. Yeah, it is funny looking back. It's like, but like you had all your time with your hands, and you're like,
Mm.
um, yeah, let's just write uh the best of my abilities to like a new song because I want to experiment with something new at that time.
Mm.
But this was also during the time where corrosion or bleakness of Eris were still, in its hiatus phase,
Mm-hmm.
or rebranding, like 2020. But right, this track is. I mentioned a lot about this, enigma of a character named Z, and obviously how big of a part she plays in a role of, tracks like I Am Origin, for example. So the Six Ranger, um, it might sound like it's like some sort of a self-reference to Power Rangers and such, but despite that, I don't know if you have seen Power Rangers, by the way, if you know about it.
Unfortunately, so I I was too old to grow up with it, but I had a younger brother. Sadly, he's no longer with us now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I was terrorized with the sound of that day in and day out for a period of my youth. So yes, I'm familiar with it.
To be fair, I have not seen Power Rangers that either.
You're
But
not missing much.
but let's get back on it. The point is, um, despite this track being sort of like a self-reference to Power Rangers, this track has no relation to this. This track is its own thing. But right, so now this track is about Z being the origin story of Z, where she is being trapped inside sort of like a realm of worlds where it's only behind uh, where she's being trapped behind the truth. So who is Z exactly? Z is the well, everyone. Z is us. Z is anyone. Z can be anyone. Z is of course the god of everything, or the everything is the god.
Yeah.
If
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. I'm sorry for my
No, no,
explanation is very poor.
no. So Z is a manifestation of the collective embodiment of everyone and everything.
Exactly.
Is
So
that
like,
is that with or without being God himself, perhaps, or is it not down quite down that?
well, you could say that it's more like a consciousness of
Yep. Mm-hmm.
since the everything sort of created Z in a way, but yeah. Um, so Z is um trapped inside of this realm where only hatred and despair exist. And the longer Z is in there, um, the more madder she becomes. So now she's trying to claw her way out of this realm where truth was created. And
Mm.
truth is this antagonist, sort of. It is sort of mentioned in the track there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in part two, Z becomes sort of enraged that she has to call for the He-Mace, which is kind of like the everything's right man hand. And Z is like, I want to get ahead. I want to get out of here. I don't like this place. And the He-Mace are like, okay, we will we will grant you some of our powers, and you will get out of here. In the end, Z does get out of there. And by doing so, she traps Truth, thinking that Truth has won, but he hasn't. And then we're kind of, shifting into I Am Origin and such. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Again, so another tale of kind of being trapped in the suffering, and
Yeah.
trying to find your way out. It's quite the themes. Are these themes for kind of narrative sort of storytelling choice preference, or are these themes and expungence of kind of, I don't know, your sort of personal experiences kind of put through music in a kind of healing form, you know?
It's a little bit of both actually,
Mm.
but it's mostly the former one.
Okay.
So like, um, I'm not a good lyrical writer. I myself has to admit that. So like, when I write something, I have to think,
Mm.
and you're always, and since when you are always constantly having music in your mind, you know, there will be writer's block on the way, obviously. So
Yes.
like, so like, obviously, these things that I just described to you isn't just, oh, I thought of it sudden. This could be a couple of years of, planning.
Mm.
This also kind of goes back into, you know, the pre-production of when I made this song because well, it took a couple of years to like get it for what I wanted. Yeah.
But yeah, on that kind of like process, because I'd love to be able to kind of start thinking about a concept and have something called pre-production.
Yeah.
It doesn't kind of work for me. I've been trying to plan this album about the life and times of Genghis Khan in sort of brutal symphonic format for like a couple of years now, and I've got as far as it as I did 2 years ago. Yeah, everything else that
Wow.
everything that I've put out since has all happened. It's all flash in the pan. It's all kind of drive. So, I would be keen to not sort of dismiss that kind of slower, perhaps more thoughtful, kind of process, because everybody needs that. The world needs that. There's people who can quickly repair stuff, like, and it will last a little while. And there's people that can build absolute empires that will last for years. Both are needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you say that kind of music is constantly in your head, when did you first realize, as you as a person, that music was always going to in your head, and that's kind of where you're going to end up?
Well, I think it has to. I mean, it started a very, very long time ago. Ever since I became part of it. But I think much of it started during, I think, after like things like in high school and such,
Mm-hmm.
where like you have many hours of like constant homework and such.
Don't
And
miss that.
yeah,
Although,
I don't.
although that said, I have a record label, and every day is homework day.
I love that. Yeah, but like where every hour you're like you have to do this and like homework is now done, and then we're like what if I could do things um because I was always like coming home tired. I'm like, "Ugh, I just want to play music, man." And I grab my guitar, play like worshipped hypocrisy riffs, and just to a little form of mention. Um, I don't know if you have actually seen a couple of things on our Bandcamp, but we actually re-released our first demo uh, a couple of, I think, a month ago.
Was this EBT or something like this?
I think it's called The Beginning.
Oh, the beginning. Yeah, do you know what? That's the out of all of them, that's the one I haven't listened to as of yet. I was putting together the website as you've seen the changes, all of the entire discographies are kind of there, at least in sort of pictorial format, and you can click through and what have you. So I had to go through and save all of the pictures, and I was like, oh, I hadn't seen that one yet. I haven't listened to it yet, and I still haven't, so no time, but I will get to it. Carry on.
Ooh. So like I was saying, like um music always develops in your head. You always think of new ideas. Um, more new stuff comes in. You develop, you evolve, you grow, and such and such. And yeah, it just keeps on rolling.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It never ends, is it? It's I don't think a musician's mind is a quiet mind. You know, it's as soon as something gets in, like an idea, it's like an itch that needs to be scratched.
Yeah,
And even if you try to step away from it for a bit, it can come, and then once it's there, that's it. It dominates everything. It lights up all these areas of the brain, and you go, "Well, I must now get to work." You know,
yeah,
and then you have to change. You change your whole lifestyle around it. You really do. You know, I've changed the job that I do. I've changed the side hustle that I do. I've changed the way I live. You know,
exactly.
I'm a
Yeah,
40-year-old man living like a 20-year-old lad. You know, and it's no wonder I don't have, you know, like a stable kind of wife and a house and a mortgage, and you know, because I follow this path, but I wouldn't change it, and I can't change it. I've lived in, you know, nice kind of beautiful kind of showroom house with a professional job where I get the suit on every day,
yeah,
and start putting money away in the savings. I've done that, and the call of the wild, the call of the musician, is always there to beckon you back. And
yeah.
in some ways, I mean, it's a beautiful kind of process because you get to create so much stuff. But you know, is it also part of this kind of cycle of suffering as well? Who knows? You know.
Yeah, but I also kind of see it as like a journey as well.
Mm.
And journeys can like mean everything. Can mean a constant suffering, can also mean a constant happiness. It's something that you can chase forward, if
Mm, mm.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Well, without one side of the one side of the coin, or without the darkness, there isn't the light, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it does have this kind of yin and yang part to it. And
Absolutely.
that's life. That's life.
Yeah.
So speaking of your musical journey, kind of what's next? I'm really desperate to know what's happening next.
Well, I'm glad you asked, man, because I I don't know if you well, we haven't updated in quite a while now, but we're done mixing and mastering our new EP slash mini album, and it's gonna be coming out. Well, I don't know when, but hopefully soon, because we're waiting on the album cover,
Okay.
and it should. And then after that, it will probably come out in like maybe January, maybe February next year.
Okay. So this soon. Awesome.
Yeah,
It's great to hear you're putting out some new material. I'll be definitely jumping on that. Um,
yeah,
Maybe we can do some exclusive Facebook record deal for you, the new album and plus a bits of back catalogue. In
yeah,
such
that'd
a
be great.
yeah, just exclusive to those kind of who take their time to watch these podcasts and support the label. Which you know, I'm
Yeah.
really grateful for. I'm really grateful for your support as well, and your kind of faith in me for coming on board. In terms of kind of the label, you know, I'm hoping you're very comfortable and stuff it in within Facebook Records. Is there any? What about our other artists? Is there any others that kind of sort of take your taste? Have you caught up with?
Could you repeat that question again? I'm sorry.
Our other artists on the label, are there any of them that you kind of have a preference to? You've listened to anything that's kind of stood out for you?
Lodestar actually.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Yes. Lodestar.
It's funny because um, when you did a couple of live reactions to them, I listened to them. I was like, my God, this is amazing. I just have to listen to it twice sometimes. So, I booted up Bandcamp, put on my earphones, listen to them. I was like, shit, man, this is actually good. I love the songwriting. I love the sections. That's something that not a lot of people talk about when it comes to music nowadays is sections, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the construction.
Sections, yeah, the sections, structure. I love the vocals.
Oh, they
I'm
are
I'm
killer.
impressed. You can tell loads of that from me. I'm
Well,
very impressed.
Lodestar, I know will catch this episode for sure. And I'm really I would have been happy to, any compliment towards any other member of the of our sort of horde, our gang. But
Yeah,
Lodestar in particular, because Lodestar sort of kind of every now and then on little posts sort of goes, well, I know we're not, face ripping kind of metal and all this kind of stuff. It's almost like there's a nugget in there that goes, oh, I'm not heavy enough for this gang. And my response has always been, well, there are people that can't take all this brutality
well,
24/7, so
if
for people that like the lighter stuff, and then that's the pathway in to all the other stuff. So you're just as important as
yeah,
everybody else, but because you, in all of your brutality, being right at the far end of the spectrum, as far as that is concerned, have then got pointed completely down to the other end of the spectrum, which is Lodestar. You've proved my point, and
yeah.
you'll make Jensen and Kate very, very happy individuals with that.
If I may speak
Mm.
about this, I think that it's the most important thing about this thing is that it's not about out brutalizing each other. It's not a competition on
No.
who's the heaviest and who's the most brutalist or big man smash and that. I if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the most important thing is, and this kind of comes back as to why I joined, your label, is that, not only do I want to express myself musically, but I think the most important thing is that um, other light genres um, should not be underestimated because I think they can be just as big as things like brutal death metal.
Mm, mm,
As
mm.
lousy as that sound coming from me, who's you know playing very brutal death metal, but I think that songwriting, this songwriting is sort of beats everything else.
Yeah.
It's like you can have the most um magical talent of shredding your fingers off, but you can't write a damn song.
Yeah, no, seen a bit of that in my time as well. Yeah, yeah, no, I understand
And
exactly what you mean.
and that's a little hypocritical coming from me because I've been guilty of that. Especially if I one day come back to you, I will probably show you on how our like first album
Mhm.
sounded. Yes.
Well,
Like,
I
I
think
mean, the production is there. It's just the songwriting kind of sucks.
well, I think when you kind of when you're much younger or early on the journey, you kind of want to be a bit like some band or something, and you want to be all super fast and super quick, and it's just all
I've been guilty
hammer
of
and
all of
tongs.
those things. Yeah,
And I think I think to some extent we've all kind of been there.
absolutely.
And then what we do is you find your authenticity, and I think that's there's nothing wrong with that, and I think it's kind of emblematic of how we live as human beings as well. We emulate the people that we admire,
Exactly.
or that are around us,
Yeah.
until we find our inner authenticity. And then
Yeah,
actually, we on a pursuit for talent, and then what we discover is authenticity, because our talents don't have to be that great to be authentic and to convey you know proper emotion and craft a song that speaks to someone.
exactly.
Well, what a point, what a note to end that on. Just a couple of minutes left on the counter here. So,
Yeah.
what would you say to any kind of musician watching this, either going through some crap or unsure of where they should be, whether they should be going on, or perhaps even you as a musician yourself 20, 30 years ago, whatever it is, what would you say?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is if you're feeling like crap, if you're out there just feeling like you want to smash something Hulk style,
Mhm.
um, go listen to our music. You will feel our therapy. I don't know how to end this note, actually.
Yes, no, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was pissed off in the kitchen the other day, and I put some bleakness of Eris on. And funnily enough, people left me alone for a little bit, so
Oh,
I caught up with all the prep. It's amazing how good your chopping skills can get to 215 BPM death metal. Yeah.
well, I'm glad I pleased someone. That's amazing, man.
No, definitely, you've pleased me, and it's and you've come across well on TikTok Live as well, and these things. I'm hoping to sort of expand that streaming kind of live show. I think there's an inner radio host in me trying to get out as well as everything else that I'm about. But yes,
Yeah.
there's been some comments are like, "Fuck me, this is absolutely crazy, insane, brutal," and yeah, absolutely wonderful addition to the label, and I'm so honored to have you. And it's been very good talking to you.
My pleasure too, Ben. It's always nice talking to you.